Hi there, I am Kululwa Mutwa and welcome to this segment of Property Market Moves. Today I am joined by Siyabonga Mshibe.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
From SAYIPA. How are you doing?
Amore, thanks. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you.
So tell us about Siyabonga first before we get to the work that you do.
Siyabonga Mshibe is a young leader from a small township called the Katloho. I'm a humble servant. I'm a child of God. I always tell people that I firmly believe that I'm Zulu, by the way, but I move along all these languages. And I'm saying in a sense that I've seen God's will in everything I do. I'm a visionary leader. I envision things and I make sure that they come to life. And I think it's not also through my wisdom, like I said, it's through God's will. So in just short, Siyabonga Mshibe is just a humble boy who has interest in playing a role in his country and being remembered as one of the leaders that at least have made an impact.
Okay. Why property for you?
How I joined property was actually exciting, and it came from an economical perspective. I was an intern at Wits Business School, by the way.
Okay.
I was an intern program manager and coordinator. In my internship, you're not really sure if you would get the job or not. And I think my contract, we're selling at 3 months before Isopel. What then happened was that I met this gentleman called Ronald Sefalafala, who owns Falas Property Investments.
Okay.
Then he introduced me into real estate, showed me the numbers.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, fine, guys. I had to make a hard decision. I don't want to lie. I went to my mentor at Wits. I think she's a female, Faith Corlos. I really appreciate her. I went to her and said, Ma, I called her Ma then because she was like a mother, a mentor. Someone who teaches you how to even send an email. She and then when she mentored me, then I told her that, look, I have an opportunity, which is an alternative in real estate. I don't know Then she's like, Sia, I'll be honest with you. You're contracted here through Services SITA, and Wits might not have the funds to then continue with you guys being here. We need you guys, but the financial muscle might not be there. Then I went and tested the waters. Like when I said I made a hard decision, I literally had to leave my comfortable office at Wits and join a big room office space at Falas Property Investments. We were trading in a big backyard of this gentleman's house. And like I said, I'm a visionary leader. Then the first thing I made, which was a commitment to myself, was that by the time I leave this agency, we should occupy an office space. And I think when I left, we're in a proper office space.
Oh, wow.
And it might not be my work new one, but I'm saying I'm a visionary. I envisioned that then. And when it happened, I was really amazed. And that is why I said, for me, I've achieved my goal here. I even told the gentleman that for me, I've achieved what I came here to do. Just briefly also, what was more interesting is that when I then joined real estate as a starter, challenges were there. And I want to share this because it's very much related to what you just asked me. My first deal in real estate was literally, I don't even want to say a meter away from where I used to work. I used to work at Wits Business School. My first deal was front opposite Wits Business School, which was an office space. Because then that was the only place I knew that had real estate or something, activities. So I think the passion when I was introduced into real estate grew even more when I started to learn the market and what's happening in it. But I think what got me into real estate also, it's just the high unemployment rate, like I said. I had the fear that I would go back to the township and be like everyone else. And we know how young boys like myself end up. And I really did not want that for myself. I have a family that I look after. I have siblings that look up to me. So I had to make sure that at least I thrive.
So for for the youth, and I mean, I know it's always an interesting one. When we look at where we are now, the youth of 2025, next day is going to be 2026, which means, 50 years from the youth of 1976.
Correct.
What are the struggles of the youth of, let's say, 2026? Let's fast forward 50 years later. I
think it's in economical interest. I think as the youth, we need to find our mission. And I think the current youth of today, we're fighting for economical interest. The youth of 1976, they did quite an amazing job, which is what fuels some of us. We know where we come from, and we know the sacrifices that have been made for us to get places in any way in the sector. And then they were fighting for a political will, educational systems, which now we enjoy. But do we really have the economical interest? And I think we'll touch more base in terms of in the real estate perspective, sure. like I were to mention. In the whole threshold of what real estate contributes in the GDP, just check how much is youth getting from that. Then you can tell me that, okay, fine. Are we really at a pace whereby what are we transforming, or are we advancing the interest of young people? But I think looking at where we are today, we really fighting for economical interest.
So what are the main barriers then for youth in property?
Real estate is very interesting, When I joined real estate, like I said, my first was commercial. It's not common for a black person to do a commercial deal. And I think also understanding the technological dimensions, I would say even the systems, I don't want to say they're manipulated, but it's algorithm. It filters in a way that we are drowning. We are still in an ocean, but we are drowning. So there are so many barriers that young people face. First being the financial constraints. Real estate is mostly commission-based. Real estate being commission-based, for you to actually maybe get your commission, you need to wait 3 to 6 months, depending when was the deal done. And others wait for 7. I took more than 7 months without a commission or any deal. But when I got
so you're not getting any
income, those are the challenges. Imagine every day you wake up, go to work, month end you've got bills to pay, there's nothing coming in. Same cycle. And I think one of the things that we need to teach young people, more especially, real estate is a long-term game. I analyze Lightstone reports. My grandfather bought a property for 100,000 rand that now it's worth over $1 million. I can imagine that was back 20 years ago. So I think the same methodology I applied into the practical real estate in terms of when I practice. It's a long-term game. You go out there, you plant. It's like making deposit. When you want to go and withdraw, there's something there. So it's the same thing. So I think the financial constraints that we face are very challenging. I know some of the developers have tried to touch in that, whereby if you work for a developer, for example, you have a basic income and the commission structure in it allows you to at least continue to pay for your basic living expenses. And lastly, I think it's competition. The competition in the sector. There is a saying that says, you are not wiser than those that come before you. And we have a lot of industry players that have been in the game for years. I remember when I started real estate, I think years ago, and when I say years ago, we had what we call age exemption. I couldn't understand why would someone retire where as a profession or whatever they do, then they were like, okay, fine, let me go and practice real estate. Then they get exempted. And we used to keep real estate as a retirement village then. But I think that also, like I say, the advantage in terms of the marketing and being there for longer plays a huge role. You must know that we're dealing with my investments here. Who would trust you with a 2 million rand house when you're just an intern? And so I think also just to jump into the compliance part of it, I've recently learned how much is to do your entry level point of view qualification, which is NQF level 4, 15,000 rand. It's steep. It's steep, you know. And these are the barriers that I think as an organization we identify and try and make sure that at least we play a role in cutting some of them.
Yeah.
I think
Sure. So how challenging is it then for youth, to access relevant information, training, and you've touched then on even the cost, of getting that training, but just information and some education, even if it doesn't give you a certificate, but it empowers you. How challenging is it still?
I think how I grew my way into real estate, you are quite correct. Network. The more you learn, the more you earn. And one of the key things that as an organization we've done well is to make sure that we create a library of network whereby in any information that is real estate related, we're able to share it to our members, and then they're able to get access to that information, be it a webinar, seminar, any event. Because there's a leadership talk that was done by one of the gentlemen where they talk about you being 3 degrees away from someone that can help you, or even the president. I mean, there's 3 people that are away from you that can help you get into that. That is only attainable if you network properly.
Sure.
And I think also we need to identify what is network. Network is not the people that you know, it's people that know you. So in that element, then if I pick up my phone call and say, do I really know the CEO of SAIBPP? If they know me back, that's proper networking. So I think as an organization, we've tried and we are still trying our level best to make sure that that information is easily accessible.
Yeah.
And I think also technology plays a huge role in terms of that. Back then, we used to have flyers. So if you don't have any digital platform, you must go around the seat and check which Kinzagalan. But now we have technology that information moves quickly. In a split of a second, information is transferred. So I think us utilizing those tools to make sure that at least information is transferred. Yeah.
Okay. Now, speaking about networking, I mean, everyone talks about it, right?
Yeah.
Your network is your net worth. But how do we actually do it? I think for the youth, is it easy to build that network? And for those who are doing it, or rather for those who don't know how to do it, how can they do it?
I think, firstly, there is no one-way answer to that. And I'll tell you why. Network has an element of a personal contact. You need to connect with the person you're networking with. Yeah. And I think the best way to go about it is to identify what do you want to achieve and be clear about it. Clear visions are easily attainable. And I'm saying easily attainable because even someone that is trying to help you, they can then hop in and say, okay, fine, let me plug you in here and here. So I think if you want to network properly, have a clear vision. When you approach whoever you want to in your network, you have a clear vision and they're able to then channel you into the right direction. Let me give you one example. In real estate, we have regulators, we have industry players, we have organizations. You need to know, if I go to a regulator, what is it that I'm able to attain from the regulator's perspective? If I go to an organization, which is a voluntary base, if I go to the Minister of Human Settlement, under what portfolio? So if you have clear vision, you can easily network. So I think that's the best advice I can give.
So even when then you do get access to that person, you already know what you want from them, essentially. And probably what value you can give them. So it's easier then to ask, at least, from them.
I think the challenging part about that for youth, there's something that just triggered my mind. One of my mentors, by the way, who comes from my township, said that as a young person, you must have courage of your own convictions. And I live by that, When imagine if I introduce myself to you and my vision, you might not buy it there and then. And our purpose as leaders, in actual fact, is to take people to a destination we've already been there mentally. Meaning that I'm far ahead. I'm pulling all you guys and say, let's go. Even with transformation, it's not a smooth transition. you would want to network as a young person. You would want your doors to be open. And one of the profound things that I think networking helps, or if you can identify how we network, if as a leader, we are able to at least assist one another or the next coming generation.
Yeah.
The same mentor taught me something and said, see, it took me 10 years to be in board of directors. It should take you 3 years because I've opened so many doors. Now I can easily pick up my phone call and say, Siya's coming there. Expect Siya. That's proper networking. And I think that's also being intentional. Leadership is about being obsessed with the interest of others and its development. It's not about self-development. So yeah.
Man, so if we talk about mentorship, and I mean, I'm glad that you've referred to it quite frequently. So clearly you see value in it, right? And, perhaps just speak to that, the value of mentorship, and how do you find mentors?
Okay, I spoke about technology. I think it's time we utilize technology at its level best. And when I began, I told you I'm a visionary leader. I think out of 5 of my mentors, before they could mentor me, I was listening to their talks either from YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to speak like them, but I'm just saying what I would relate to what they're saying and everything.
Yeah.
We ended up getting to connect even when we get to meet. So I think that's how naturally and organically we are able to meet with your mentors. There is the traditional way where you're saying, I want to be mentored by Siya.
Yeah.
And I think the most challenging thing about that, that we don't get to speak about, is that you must understand that the same Siya has so many other responsibilities out there, and 100 other young people would want to be mentored by them.
Sure.
How can we split Siya's time so that at least he can accommodate everyone? Because a mentorship, it's not like one person would want to mentor you.
Yeah.
There are thousands of young people that would want to be mentored by that specific individual. So I think we should decide methods that would enable at least easily accessible mentorship. And like I said, we have digital tools now. As a mentor, there are ways in which you can connect with the people that you're mentoring, even digitally, and get to meet them once in a while. So I think I see value in mentorship because it's more like a direct reflection of who you are. And I come as a camouflage. A lot of people don't even know who mentors Siya at times, and sometimes I'm proud of the people that mentors me, but I don't really boast about them because I'm trying to protect their image, myself. And even when I make mistakes, by the way, because I'm young, I make mistakes. There are people that I go to and say, hey, chief, here's 1, 2, 3, then senza kanjani, and they get to guide me. So there is true sense of value in mentorship. I saw SAIBPP youth formation.
Yeah.
They actually embarked into a mentorship program where they directly contact people that are interested in mentorship. That's one of the other methods that I would really applaud, because if someone is interested, they would sign up and give their time to the next person, So I think, like I said, mentorship is a direct reflection of what you are trying to achieve, who you're trying to be. Yeah. And from that, you can obviously outsource certain things from those people, either from looking at how they speak, how they articulate themselves, how they present themselves, how they moved from one place to another. Then I was taught that so and also you must also know that there's a Pedi saying, I'm not sure if it's Pedi or Tswana, that says that meaning that I step where the first one. So there is true value in terms of mentorship.
When we look at, now we talk about transformation, maybe before we unpack, transformation, what is SAYIPA?
Very interesting. SAYIPA is a voluntary-based youth organization. Yeah. With its main interest in accelerating transformation. And I think we were very key with our keywords, accelerating transformation. Transformation we've seen has always been there, but is it moving? Yeah. That's where we get in as an organization. So our interest is in real estate. Real estate, not only property practitioners, the 12 subsectors. Being an expert in a subject matter of property practitioners, we're able to build structures, we're able to build a team that then we grow the vision even bigger. So we've attracted a lot of young people. And I'll also explain. SAYIPA, when it was formulated, there were two concerns. It was firstly from a frustration. And I'm saying frustration from lack of transformation, even with the ideas. I've always been the forefront of leading young people, by the way. I think at the verge of then being EAP, when it found me in the sector, and I've led young people to raise these concerns, raise this solution, and we were not belonging anyway. So even when things were being done, we were being referred as youth in property. Then we consolidated it and say, guys, let's consolidate this thing and make it formal. So SAYIPA has always been existing, but obviously formulating it and making sure that there is proper structure. Then that's SAYIPA.
And in the frustrations, in observing the speed of transformation that SAYIPA wants to accelerate, what is your intervention? How do you accelerate transformation as SAYIPA?
Okay. Transformation is very close to my heart. I'll tell you this. It's the hill I'm willing to die on. And I've said this over and over again. How we actually planning on accelerating this transformation? Let me start with unpacking this transformation. There are so many progress we've made as a sector. But honestly, we are 31 years into the democracy. Unemployment 40%, 42%. 72% of that 40% is the youth. Our real estate sector contributes 8.9 trillion rand. Residential being the biggest in that. And I think we are sleeping in this transformation thing because we actually have an opportunity to transform more and more lives. So as an organization, our first was the policy advocacy. I'm saying policy advocacy in a sense that there are transformation initiatives that we believe that young people can advance. And I'm saying young people can advance in a sense that, one practical example, go to PPA Act, Chapter 4. It stipulates that there's transformation fund that needs to be established. And we can break it down the way it was. In actual fact, we were actually part of the initial transformation fund when it was drafted. But like I said, then there was no SAYIPA. It was youth in property. What are you saying, guys? And we had high hopes that when the transformation fund would be initiated, now we have a home. We have a place where we can say, okay, fine, guys, we don't really need to outsource external funds that can only be granted for a certain period of time, then they are closed. There is a pool whereby young people can go in and tap into. And from a policy advocacy, that's the first point that I would like to highlight. Let me go to the BE, Black Economic Empowerment. I'm happy to even announce that we've joined the Charter, Property Sector Charter Council. And the SAYIPA has nominated me to represent them at the Charter. The Black Economic Empowerment, I think the term explains itself. Black Economic Empowerment. We've seen a lot of fronting, not only in real estate, but we're in the context of real estate right now. We've seen a lot of fronting. We've seen a lot of gatekeeping that has been happening in the sector. And I'm saying, even with that, as young people would want to advance transformation using that. And there are ways, for example, skills development. There are entities that are willing to say, for us to contribute to the PE through skills development, I can train learners and then we get the points of PE that we have trained. That's one of the initiatives that we've been unpacking, by the way, and it keeps us going. And it also humbles me how we've trained so many young individuals without even a budget. It shows that there are things that could be done, and I think that's the second point. The third one is establishing funds or outsourcing external funds that can advance our transformation initiative. I firmly believe there's nothing about us without us.
Yeah.
Right now, as we speak, the same transformation initiatives, it's being illustrated by an external voice that is not youth. And I'm saying you can go look into, you can start from the structures in which real estate is set up. Go to the board. There's low representative of young people.
Yeah.
Low. So who is there to really advance the interest of young people?
Sure.
You know, that's where we come in as SAYIPA. And it might not be me, but I'm saying I'm happy to celebrate another young person advancing the interest of young people. So those are the three key points that I would like to highlight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a misconception amongst young people about, property investments, that it's something for the wealthy, something for the old, something for the select few, or there's a natural buy-in?
I think, firstly, there's always a misconception about young people. Remember, firstly, we will be called names, then later will be celebrated. The age of 1976, when they were fighting the battle, they were not heroes then. Who's this gentleman? Yeah, they were not celebrated there and then, but they knew what they wanted to. Yes, and then from that point, I think so there will always be this misconception about young people. It takes me to my point of what I've shared to you, that as leaders, we are responsible to take people to a certain destination that they haven't been there. And we must look into it like an economist. What I'm doing right now, you might not see results immediately. 10 years to come, someone would say, but guys, Sia did wonders there. We are able to get qualification. We are able to do 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So there's always a misconception about young people.
Yeah.
In terms of the investments, I think we lack real estate education in our communities. And I'm saying this because I've also learned about real estate later, even after I've completed my metric, which is something that is shocking. And it bounces back to our curriculum. Our curriculum as a country needs to speak to what are we trying to achieve as a country. So if real estate is less spoken about, but in terms of the numbers, it's showing high, then it's something that we need to really look into. And right there, when there is lack of education in terms of real estate, even from an investment point of view, no one would see interest in it. The ones that are willing to see interest in it are the ones that are moneyed, because why? For them, I wouldn't say it's like gambling, but it's like I can put my money in there and plant, and then let's see. So hence is why the misconception is, obviously, if someone does not really have those spare funds to try something out, because they don't know if it will work or not. And there are no institutions that I think we do have now, SAPIN and many other institutions that are trying to be out there vocally. You say that here are investment tools that you can utilize. And like any other business, there are risks in it. And there's always this misconception that you'll never go wrong with property. You can go very wrong.
So to a young South African who is feeling discouraged because, things are just not happening the way they would want them to, what advice would you give them?
There's so many things that pop into my head. I think we have arrived, man. We are here to liberate young people that have lost hopes. I can share so many stories that we've revived careers in real estate, and it's only the beginning. We're just laying the foundation. We're showing people that we are coming, and I'm saying this because we've seen the opportunities that are there in real estate. I myself, I can assure you, there are so many success stories I can attest that come from real estate. So many things that I've learned that come from real estate. Most of my networks come from real estate. So I think it is a hope for a lot of young people, especially because of also the barrier to entry is very low. Yes, financial constraints are there. And I think we are working tirelessly. I'm one of the guys that I have late nights, early mornings, and I think it's primarily because, like I have said, I want to make an impact, and I'm very intentional about it. And I think we as an organization, we not really in competition in terms of this transformation thing, but we would leave an impactful sector. And by the time we leave the sector, one thing I'll be proud of is that we didn't leave the sector as the way we found it.
Yeah.
That's one thing for sure. But we are coming.
So we've spoken to, the impact, I guess, of having someone to look up to, someone that you're learning from, who has been in the industry. And I guess also, being in those spaces where you find that there's an attempt to have youth in mind without the youth. Do you feel that the sector is doing enough to support the youth?
No, not enough, man. And I would be frank and honest. Numbers don't lie. Check how many property practitioners do we have that are young. And even with that, that's what we are trying to unpack as an organization. Transformation is not really about just ticking boxes. Yeah. Oh, we have 50,000 property practitioners. Check their market share. Our young people, the center. Check the value chain of real estate, facilities management. And I think at the core of what we are trying to do, we are trying to conscientize the mind. As in as much as we have our older people that are there to guide us, others act like gatekeepers, and we firmly when I entered the sector, I was introduced a gatekeeper as a color. Today, a gatekeeper can be my sister, my brother. But one of also my leaders taught me that, Sia, if you're not willing to be misunderstood by the people you lead, you're not ready to lead. Hang in there, my man. That's why I've always been perseverant of just keeping on going. Yeah. And like I said, if we were to look into the numbers from an executive level, we do have highly qualified young people that are competent to drive this transformation. Yeah. Not only transformation, by the way, initiatives that can be innovative, that would then enable young people to be at least industry players. Sure. And with the knowledge, with the speed, with everything we have, the energy, the drive. I mean, I can assure you, the board I chair, we don't have time for games. We're there to work. I'm young. I run. So if you're not up to speed, you'd be left behind. Imagine if you have another young, energetic person that would run this transformation initiative. I can assure you, as a country, would be in a better place. And here's one thing about unemployment: it actually affects everyone. Yeah, it's just moments away before it affects you directly. You'd find someone, you're driving a nice car, someone would hijack you. That person would have been something bigger, but because
their own car.
But now they want yours, So I think young people are not really given enough space. I'll also tap into that a bit. When we started SAYIPA, it was not fashionable then to lead a youth organization. What is SAYIPA? What are you trying to achieve? Yeah. And I remember one of the criticism I got was that, Sia, now you want to be unemployed and and when I was nominated as a chairman, I was actually working for an entity at Bedford View, at which I had to resign and say I want to go and serve young people because I feel like serving is a calling. So I think young people, obviously, in as much as they're not given enough opportunities, that's not an excuse. We'll create our own table, We want you guys in Tolenhled, and then we come in and say, we are here.
Now, speaking about that table,
we
know that technology and AI, are a reality in today's world. Do you see those almost like as a leveler of sorts for young people?
No, for sure. I'll tell you, just give you one example also. When I was doing my real estate work and when I was a full-time agent, it was difficult for me to even list a description, full description that is eye-catching. Because, I just got a property. I know it's nice. It looked good. Then what? But now through technology, you can even just go there, give them a full description, or even AI. They would tell them that this is a house in Pimville, it has a pool. They would generate a deep description. Deep search, go there again. So there's more opportunities. And I think young people are at the verge of transforming the sector, even at their own. Another example, we now see the impact of social media. Yeah. People are not selling really properties through the portals we know. Through Reels, people sell properties. Through YouTube, people are selling properties, And it's us that are having these ideas that are driven.
Yeah.
I think also with one thing with my organization that we've captured right, and I'm saying in comparison when we're doing our review work, we check our social media work. It's performing quite well. We are able to attract the market, external, even globally, by the way. We have people that are saying, how can I join the membership of SAYIPA? Unfortunately, our constitution says South Africa. So the technological advancement is also one of the tools that will help us as young people to achieve this goal of a transformation. You must understand it's not a one-way type of a situation whereby we'll transform this real estate sector. And there are challenges like willing buyer, willing seller.
Yeah.
But if there's someone who's willing to buy what you are selling through social media, then you've got your inch. So I think technology is playing a very, very important role, and we should take it upon ourselves to make sure that we use it to the fullest.
So courses, books, platforms that you can direct someone who's just listening and thinks, I actually want to know more about what Usia is talking about. What can they read? What can they spend their time on, to empower themselves?
I think like SAYIPA, South African Youth and Property Association, again, my brand. Let's start there. Join there as a membership. Our membership is 30 Rand. As soon as you join, by the way, you have access to a portal, which has educational platforms, tools, educational content. We have property professionals. This is your beginner, someone who wants to know about real estate. Yeah. We have your property investment course that is there. Property investment course also, I think one of your previous speakers was here, Daniel Kazadi, who was part of SAYIPA, helped us package that very well so that you can get to understand how to invest in property. So we have a platform that serves as a library, 30 Rand per month. I think we wanted to use that to make sure that at least when you have that time, because it's also digital, go through that, you log in, go through all those courses. It's a mind refresher
on your own pace.
And that's the first platform that I would like to share. In terms of the books, there are so many books that I personally read. And I read them from different perspectives, from a leader, someone who wants to make change. There's a book by this president who gives us a headache, Art of the Deal. It's out of the deal. And I check how he negotiates, There are so many things that one can learn from how a leader run. I mean, if you're head of state, you're running everything, So I think he read a book, he wrote a book, Donald Trump, Out of the Deal. People should go and read that book. It's very interesting. I think when I joined real estate, I used to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But that book, it has some tax complications. I'm saying the tax that Robert Kiyosaki uses that side, it's far different from what we use this side. But there are methodologies that you can adapt that the gentleman has used in terms of using equity to build your investment portfolio and growing from that. Because I think in terms of taxation and equity building, the same methodology, there is something you can take from there. That is South African context related. So those are the two that I can recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of the deal. If you could change one thing about the property industry to make sure that it is more youth friendly, what would it be?
I think it's a very hard one. I'm saying hard because of our constitution. If in all these board of directors that serve under the minister, the DHS, it could be constituted that at least minimum 50% should have young people in those boards. I can assure you, our real estate would change because our value chain of real estate lies right there, in all these sister entities. And I'm saying if we can, it can be constituted that at least minimum 50%. And this also would give a lot of young people that are academia to go and explore this board of directors entities, and a lot of people that are academically driven, they're able to put solutions that can advance the interest of transformation. I've seen that even with my team, a lot of graduates that we have, look, they're solution driven, you know, but you find that obviously they're suppressed because they put down the solutions, then they just end in nowhere. So I think if there's one thing that I would change is to constitutionalize the way the board of directors are appointed. Be it appointed by a minister, granted, that's fine. But 50% must be constituted by young people. Then we'll be cruising nicely.
Okay. And essentially, I mean, what you're saying is that, and I think you articulated it very well. Nothing, you know, for us without us. And when you spoke to, you know, some of the misconceptions about youth, and do you think that there are misconceptions that the youth have about the industry?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll give you a reason why. You know, I'm a very robust leader, and it takes a lot for me to burst out.
Yeah.
But for me to get to that point is when you try and knock into a certain door, you're being closed. You can't have access to that. By the time you transit and you move from that phase, then that's where things change. So I think the misconception is like, okay, fine. Even one of the most presidents that I look up to said this thing. We look up to people. That's good, granted. Yeah. By the time you get to sit with them in those tables, you're like, they're not what you think or you thought they are, you know. And this is because sometimes as young people we want things to be done quicker. But I'm not a fan of there's a term we use where you say microwave transformation.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of microwave transformation. But the misconception comes when you keep on depositing. But when it's time for withdrawals, there's nothing. Kanjan, when we've been planting, kanjan, and that misconception starts right there. And in South Africa, we are in a country whereby we're in a phase where there's leadership deficit, proper leadership deficit. We are fading away from proper ethical leaders. You know, it's populist that survives in nowadays. And young people obviously then have this misconception that obviously when you're popular, you thrive. And some of us, we are then able to toe the line whereby we know this one is a populist, you know, and this one is an ethical leader. And also how we identify a leader. If it's someone that you are able to listen to people, give them an ear.
Sure.
That clears away that misconception. I mean, if there's a dark cloud between ourselves, we should be able to say, okay, fine, let's sit down, let's clear that out. Then there's no misconception. You've cleared that out. Those are the type of leaders I believe in and I look up into. So I think the most misconception starts right there. And you must understand we are young, you know, we're energetic. So by the time we are being poked we can't go with misconception forever. I always tell my team that I don't have 30 years to transform this sector. So in as much as my speed is moving, but we are very, very aware of what we are doing and intentional about it. So the misconception, yes, is there, but I think it's just a lack of engagement, you know, by those that lead us in most cases.
Okay. So the last question is coming from the guest that we hosted before you. So when they ask this question, they don't know who you are. So the question might or might not relate, but I think this one does. What quality of leaders do we think would take South Africa to a point where it is actually a thriving economy for everyone?
Yeah, you know, like I said, leadership is other-centered. You need to have interest in other people's development. Yeah. Let's start there. And like I said, we need to move away from populist leaders. And I'm saying populist, I always make so many examples with big corporates, for example. I don't know the CEO of F&B. But one thing granted, if my bank card gets swallowed or something, before I even get to the branch manager, my thing would be resolved. Suppose they've planted proper procedures that enables things to be done before you get to the executive level. And I think that's where you strike the balance to check with who's a good ethical leader. Because as a leader, these days especially, we are led mostly by people that I think it's career building. Yes, it's good to say, okay, fine, I've worked in this entity and I've done X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But I think as a leader, you have more mission than what you are assigned to. That's why most leaders will tell you that I left my job to chair an organization. It's fact. We can go and check. So I think the ideal leaders that we need to look up to in a country, I think it's leaders that have the best interest of those that they lead. You can't, and also you have to love your people to lead them. You can't also lead people and wish to harm them. So you need to have at least clear indication of what kind of a leader do we have. Do they have our interest at heart? It's the same thing as having a vision. If it's clear, then I know we know how we can support. The same way with our leaders. Even today, it's difficult to endorse some of them or help others because you don't know what interest they represent. You know, yes, they are leaders of an entity, but you don't know what they serve to represent because actions that are being taken, they are far-fetched from the ideology of transformation. So I think we need to look up to ethical leaders that have people's development at heart.
Sure. That was quite a mouthful. I enjoyed that conversation and I am hoping that you did as well. Like, subscribe to our channel and follow us. And I think more importantly, share it with your community because we grow quicker when we are learning together. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for inviting me. I'm honored.